Shalom, shalom, Miss Baka. We're going to allow a few minutes for others to get into the chat. Shalom, how is everybody doing tonight? Alrighty, let me know if you can hear me if you're in the chat. Shalom, shalom, and welcome to the Prophetic Voice. See, people are jumping on. So we'll just wait a little bit longer. So not too much longer, because we want to say what we're hearing and then move on out the way. Prayerfully, you can hear me just fine. And for those that we kind of changed up the intro to Baruch Haba Bashem Yahuwah. So we trying to hear from the Father. All right, praise Yah. I got an answer. So the purpose of the prophetic voice is to bring insight to things that might be occurring or that will occur. And sometimes we gloss over things. We don't think that the Father is speaking. When the Father speaks, he speaks clearly. The question is, are we picking up what he's speaking, or are we ignoring it? So we're going to just speak on a real quick topic tonight, because we're coming into that season where more things are going to be revealed. And the more you have to work with, the better off you'll be. So tonight we're going to just briefly talk about dreams. Dreams are significant. And I've been a dreamer for as long as I can remember. But it wasn't until I got a little bit older that I started to really pay more attention to my dreams and the messages that were being communicated. And when I say older, I'm talking about, mid-20s, mid to late 20s. And we've got to make sure that we pay attention to dreams, because if we don't, we'll miss it. We'll think a dream doesn't, we kind of gloss it over, or it doesn't mean anything. Trust me, I'm going to show you here. What we're going to just briefly go over is talk about the dreams that Yosěph encountered. Yosěph was a dreamer. But in his situation, he had to deal with someone. He dealt with several people that we have no indication that they were dreamers. So his gifting shifted from him dreaming to him being able to understand how dream works. So his initial, when he was in the prison, when Potiphar threw him into prison, he had a baker and he had a cupbearer. He had to not dream about them, but he had to interpret their dreams. So if you're a dreamer, now it comes time for you to move sometimes from the dreaming side to being able to interpret what's being dreamed. So some key things, just a couple of key things that happened in Genesis with Yosef after he got out of prison. His gift made room for him. He was able to get out of the prison because the Pharaoh had a dream. And no one in his entire kingdom could interpret his dream. They were all timid. Then they heard through the cupbearer that about Joseph, who was in the prison. So they hastily went and got him. So just a couple of things that stood out that I want to just touch on. It came to be, this is in Genesis 41:1, at the end of 2 years that Pharaoh had a dream. Okay, then you go to verse 5. He slept and dreamed the second time. So he had 2 dreams. Now, Yosef acknowledged after hearing the dreams in verse 16, and Yosef answered Pharaoh, saying, "It is not in me. Let Elohim answer Pharaoh with peace." And what he told Pharaoh, if you have a chance, look at verse 26. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good heads are 7 years. It is one dream. So the dream that he had, though it was 2 dreams within one person, it was still one dream. Now, you can also have multiple people having the same dream with the same scenario. It doesn't have to be the exact same, because if you go back and look at his dream, one time he was dreaming about animals, the next time he was dreaming about a crop, corn. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the same dream, but it's going to be on the same plane, same understanding. And the key thing is, who gives the interpretation? Who gives the understanding? It comes from Elohim, but it flowed in this particular instance down through a dreamer, which was Yosef. And notice what Yosef says in Genesis 41, verse 32. And the dream was repeated to Pharaoh twice, because the word is established by Elohim. And Elohim is hastening to do it. Okay. Now, when we look at this particular instance, the father allowed Yosef to interpret it so that he could protect his family. You know, he didn't know all that was happening, but all of this paved the way for protection. And in paving the way for protection, there was a bad time, a bad period. There were 7 years, then there was another 7 years of where it was drought. It was just terrible. It was to the point that the people sold their land, they sold their animals, and finally they had to sell themselves. So all the wealth came into Egypt because of Yosef and his planning. Now, let me say this. when we're dreaming and we have dreams that are on the same plane, we've got to figure out or inquire to the Father, why is this happening? Because some of the players in the dream is just to bring about what he wants to bring about. So we gotta see, okay, is he doing this for a future movement? Or is he doing this as a judgment? You know, what is it? Is it to preserve, or is it possibly a judgment? So, you know, sometimes we make haste in doing things without seeking and finding out what's going on, about why this is happening, or why these dreams occur. And if we don't take the time out to figure out what is this, why is this happening? It happened to Yosėph for him to preserve. Okay? But not everything is preservation. Some things could be judgment. So we've got to seek that path and figure that out. But when we don't figure that out and we just move just because, you know, it seems convenient, then we just going to put ourselves back in the same situation because we didn't figure out, first of all, why is it happening? We didn't seek his face. We just moved. So Yosėph had an understanding of why it was happening. So when you're having dreams and you have two dreams in succession, 2 or 3, you need to get understanding on why it's happening. Okay? Your dreams are trying to show you something. He's trying to communicate something. And we've got to be in a position where we are trying to understand what he's communicating. And if we don't do that, we're going to fall short. We're going to miss the mark. And we're going to end up right back in the same situation. And then we'll wonder, why did this happen? Well, we got to do due diligence. So that's what I had for tonight. I pray that you take this, hide it in your heart, that you don't sin against him. Because we want to make sure that we are in good standing with the Father at all times. Search yourself, seek his face, and let him help you discern what's going on. All right, Miss Picard, this is Maury Medad Yahoo saying to you, be blessed on tonight. In the name of Yahuwah Elohim. Shalom.